A Jew returning to his roots, or Baal to Shuva, finds many aspects of beauty in this new path. But, as most discover, it's not an easy journey.
In every situation, there are three phases. There's an inspiration phase, where everything is beautiful. Then there's a loss of inspiration. And in that loss of inspiration, you have to work to regain the inspiration. But the regaining of it is at a higher level. Just to give an example, Rabbi Dessler brings this example of a child learning to walk. He says initially the child's learning to walk and the parent's holding the child's hand. So from the child's perspective, he's mobile. He can walk. Then the parent lets go and the child plonks down to the ground. And if it's a philosophical child, he'll say, why do the righteous suffer? What did I do wrong? Why did they let me down? But that's the nature of learning to walk. And then eventually he struggles to his feet because now he knows what it is to walk. And he starts to work on it and to do it on his own. And once he does that, he's now able to walk independently. And so he's gained what was initially an illusory inspiration. He's now gained something which is true, which is real.
For Wayne Copping, one of the biggest challenges was keeping the Jewish dietary laws, or kashrut, so much so that he subsequently wrote an article about his struggle for the Eshat Torah website, aish.com, speaking about how he finally overcame this challenge.
It was about this transition point in my life where I was deciding, should I become observant, shouldn't I become observant? Can I actually keep kosher or can I not keep kosher? We were living in Los Angeles at the time, and my brother came to LA, and we went to San Francisco together because my brother had an interview. And I knew that I had to be prepared. So I had a list of all the kosher restaurants in my back pocket, all printed up, and I had the addresses, I had the telephone numbers, so no matter where we were in San Francisco, the second my brother got hungry, we would be able to pop off to the nearest kosher restaurant and eat. And it was around about lunchtime, and my brother was starting to show signs of getting hungry, so I thought, let me take out my list, because I don't want there to be any for rebels. I reached in my back pocket, and I realized that I'd left my list in the hotel room. So now I start scheming, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because my brother, he wasn't so sure that us keeping kosher and becoming observant was the right thing to do. And I just knew that if we couldn't find a kosher restaurant, this whole situation was going to end up quite ugly. And in my mind, I wasn't sure if I had the strength at that point in time to withstand the challenge of this thing. And I might have actually just tanked the whole thing and said, you know what, you're right, this is not a viable situation. And we're walking along, and we're trying to think where we're going to go. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? What's the difference? Kosher, not kosher. I'm a nice person. Who needs to be, a religious Jew? And I'm just kind of following my brother, and he's walking along this way and that way. And he says to me, where should we eat? What do you want to do for lunch? And I was about to say, let's just eat anywhere. I don't really care. And as I was about to say that, I looked up, and across the street, I saw Hebrew letters. Now, we were in the middle of Chinatown in San Francisco, and I look up and I see Hebrew letters. And I look at these words, and it says sabra, and it says glit kosher. And I said to my brother, that's where we're going to eat. And that's where we had lunch. And it was the most amazing thing. For me, it was like an open miracle. And so now, here we are, I've got the cosmic hubcap on my head, and the rest is history, as they say.
There are changes. Obviously, going from eating non-kosher food to kosher food might be a little bit tricky at first, but at the end of the day, for me, having a soul that's satisfied and knowing that I'm doing the right thing according to our book, the Book of Books, the Torah, is far more worthwhile than just going into the convenience of a restaurant down the street,
Some challenges are unique to women, balat teshuvah. Judaism requires a strict level of modesty, which often conflicts with the Western dress code.
I remember giving away my jeans. That was hard to part with those. It was very, very hard. I kept them for a long time, just to know they were still there.
Ashley Gavronsky has been in the process of redefining herself at a time when many are just starting to develop their identity.
My parents and my sister are very accepting of this way of life that I've chosen to lead and follow. What they think is over the top is when it's a boiling hot day and I'm wearing a skirt and stockings, they'll just say, come on, but don't you feel like you're trapping yourself? Do you not just want to put on a pair of shorts or put on a pair of tracksuit pants so you feel more cooler or something like that because it's boiling hot outside?
It's not always easy, but these are more on just practical levels. I never struggle with my commitment to keep the mitzvot. There's never something that I don't want to do. Well, that's not 100% true. Sometimes when my own hair's just had a cut and looking very nice, and then I walk out of the hairdresser and they've put so much effort into making my hair nice, and then I put on, this which is a wig. I'm sure some people may be surprised to hear that, but it is a wig. So then I think, I'm spoiling this beautiful hairdo. But I've been living this way of life for about 30 years now, and it's become so much part of me. It's not negotiable. It's not something that I would want to give up, ever, even though it might have its difficult moments.
If you take on being more observant, the extent how you have to be consistent and role model, which is why for me, I'm also taking my journey slowly. I'm kind of holding back. I don't really want to learn the truth of head covering, of wearing a sheitel, because I know that if I really understand the truth of it, then I'll feel I'll have to do it. And I always like my sense of freedom, and I don't think that I would do well with it. But I do think that once you start, it's then hard to stop.
It's so easy to get into a place of, I have to do this. I have to wear my yami every day, I have to wear a black hat and coat to belong. I have to learn more Torah. I have to give away more money. I have to do more chesed. I have to bake challahs for my family. I think it's so easy to get into that set of demands on oneself because you've got external demands. And it's so easy to plug into those in a way that's self-destructive, because as soon as you're telling yourself, I have to be a certain way or do a certain thing, you're telling yourself, or else it means something about me, or else I'm not living up to God's commands, and that means I'm a bad person.
When one becomes observant and one is new to this world, one often thinks that there's a particular way that you have to be, or a particular way that you have to dress, or a particular way that you have to speak. And I think that those people who do think that and who do become those type of people that just kind of slot in, I think are betraying who they are in their core.
If there is pressure, it's self-induced. No one says to you, you have to be like this or you have to be like that.
What happens often then is that a person takes on more than they're ready to take on. You'll often find this. You see a guy one day, like a normal, regular guy, and the next day he's got like a black hat and coat. And he can barely read Hebrew. The external garb ideally should reflect the level that you're holding at. But when you put on that garb, but you're not yet up to it, and you're not yet living in accordance with that, in the way you behave with other people, in the way you conduct your business dealings, in the way you speak to people, anything. If you don't live up to that external outfit, then people do point fingers. So rather don't put it on. Rather grow, and keep making sure that you are integrous.
Normally, inspiration doesn't last very long. If you think about infatuation in a relationship, it's the same sort of thing. It's foam. It's beautiful and it's wonderful, but it doesn't have substance, so it doesn't last for long. The infatuation has to be replaced by love. In this way, too, the inspiration has to be replaced by substance.
There's been many different challenges at different times. So I think especially in the beginning, even keeping Shabbat, coming from a kind of a rational framework and thinking, well, why not turn a light switch on? That's not work. And, if we're doing the main things, surely that's okay. And I think it took about 6 months to get the miracle of it and to recognize the connection of everything. And then you realize, it's not about not working. You can move your table up and down 50 times. It's about not doing creative acts. And it's as if suddenly you get into the miracle of when you keep everything, you understand it. And you can't even explain it because it's only in the doing that then it becomes your kind of reality. So what was very challenging probably in the first 6 months can become a joy and a laughter. And I do think that you can think about all the don'ts. This is, you can't do this, you can't do that. And you can think, well, it's challenging because it's different. But when you experience it and you see the gift of the doing and the releasing and the letting go, it's so much more gift than challenge.
Vivian Wolf, who is now retired in Cape Town, only recently became a Baal Teshuvah.
One goes through your life thinking that you should be doing things. For instance, I leave my cell phone on over Shabbos because my mother is 96 and I'm never quite sure if I'm going to get a call. And I don't use my cell phone on Shabbos, but I leave it on. I'm in conflict very often with myself about driving to shul. We live too far away from the shul for us to be walking to shul. And that is a conflict that I have with myself very often. But I think that those are things that in time will sort themselves out.